Chapter 6, Quiz Review, Equations and Inequalities. So the first several problems, we have to solve each equation and then check your solution. So remember, as we're going through and we are solving our equations, think opposite. Okay, whatever the operation is, to solve that equation, you have to do the opposite. So number one, it says t plus 8 equals 4. So t plus 8 equals 4. I want to get my variable by itself, so I want to do the opposite of add 8, which is to subtract 8. By the property of equality, which means whatever I do to one side of my equation, I have to do to the other. So 8 minus 8 is 0. Those two cancel out. I'm left with my variable t. And 4 minus 8 is a negative 4. Number 2, a minus 4 equals 6. A minus 4 equals 6. Again, I want to get my variable by itself. So I do the opposite of subtract 4, which is to add 4. I do that to both sides of my equation. 4 minus 4 is 0. If I don't get 0 here, I've made a mistake somewhere, because I should always get my variable by itself. So my variable equals 6 plus 4, which is 10. And number 3, I have negative 6 equals p minus negative 4. I'm going to switch these two around. I like to have all of my equal signs on the right-hand side. When I switch these around, it does not change any of the values. So I want to get my variable p by itself, so I do the opposite of subtract 4, which is to add 4, and I do that to both sides. 4 minus 4 is 0. I'm left with p equals negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2. Number 4, I have y plus 13 equals 21. So again, y plus 13 equals 21. I want to get my variable by itself, so I have to do the opposite of add 13, which is to subtract 13. 13 minus 13 is 0. I'm left with y equals 21 minus 13, which is 8. Number 5, I have 4x equals negative 16. Remember, anytime you have a number and a variable side by side, that means to multiply. So the opposite of multiply is to divide. So I'm going to divide each by 4. I'm going to divide by the coefficient. When I do that, 4x divided by 4, my 4's cancel each other out, leaving x as my variable. And negative 16 divided by 4 is negative 4. Number 6 is 30 equals 5n. Again, I'm going to switch these two around. That's just my preference. So again, 5 times some number equals 30. I'm going to divide each one by 5, which is the coefficient. 5 divided by 5 is 1. I'm left with n equals 30 divided by 5, which is 6. Number 7, again, multiplication. So again, I'm going to take 3 2/10 times d equals 78 8/100. I'm going to divide each of those by 3 2/10. When I do that, 3 2/10 cancel out. It cancels out. I'm left with d equals 78 8/10 divided by 3 2/10 is 24 4/10. Number 8, I have 3/4 x equals negative 24. So this is where I multiply by a fraction. So 3/4 x equals a negative 24. So I want to divide each side by 4/3. Oops. Because these will cancel each other out. All I'm doing is I'm flipping that fraction so I can get my variable by itself. And I have a negative 24 divided by 3/4, which I switch, divided by 3/4, which I keep, change, flip. Keep the first fraction the same. Change the sign to multiply, flip my second fraction to be 4/3. 3 goes into negative 24 negative 8 times. 4 times 8 is 32, so it's a negative 32. Number 9, same thing. 5 halves C equals 8 1/3. So again, I'm going to take 5 over 2C equals 8 1/3. So I have to divide each by 5 halves. 5 halves divided by 5 halves, those cancel each other out to get C equals, so I'm going to take 8 1/3 divided by 5 halves. So I take 8 times 3, which is 24, plus 1 is 25. 25/3. I just simply made that an improper fraction. So I just going to keep, change the sign from divide to multiply, flip the second fraction to 2/5. 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 25 5 times. 5 times 2 is 10 over 3. 3 goes into 10 3 times with 1/3 left over. I can only recommend you using a calculator on those types of problems. 10, 11, and 12 are all two-step equations that you have to solve, but we do this the same way. Number 10, I have 2 times y plus 6 equals 16. So I want to get my variable by itself, so I have to do the opposite of plus 6, which is to subtract 6 from both sides. 6 minus 6 is 0. I'm left with 2y equals 16 minus 6, which is 10. So now I have 2 times some number equals 10, so if I divide each by 2, 2 divided by 2 is 1, there's y left. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 4m minus 7 equals 17. Get my variable by itself. So the opposite of subtract 7 is to add 7 to both sides. 7 minus 7 is 0. I'm left with 4m equals 7 and 7 is 14. That'd be 24. I divide each by 4 to get m equals 6. So for number 12, I have 4x minus 3 3/10 minus x plus 9 3/10. So here I have a variable on both sides. So I want to get my variables on one side. Well, since this one is all by itself, I'm going to subtract x from both sides. When I subtract x from both sides, it disappears here. X minus x is 0. I'm left with 9.3 equals 4x minus an x is 3x minus 3.3. So now I have my variable by itself. I want to do the opposite of subtract 3.3, which is to add 3.3 to both sides. 3.3 minus 3.3 is 0. I'm left with 3x. I got to move it over here, sorry. And 9 3/10 plus 3 and 3/10 is 12 and 6/10. So then I divide each of those by 3 by the coefficient. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so I'm left with x equals 4.2, 4 and 2/10. Even though they have a variable on both sides, find the largest variable and keep that one on that side and subtract the other one. Makes it a lot easier. Number 13 says Abe, a plumber, charges $60 an hour plus $60 for making an in-home visit. The plumbing service charges $75 an hour, but no set fee for a visit. How many hours of plumbing work are needed for each to cost the same? So Abe the plumber, he's going to charge $60 for 1 hour plus $60 for the home visit. And the plumbing service goes to $75. So if I go 60, so for hour 1, for Abe, and then plumbing service, Abe in 1 hour is going to charge the $60 plus the $60 for coming in. That's $120. Plumbing service only goes $75. For 2 hours of work, it would have $120 for Abe plus another $60 for another hour would be $180. Plumbing would be 75 plus 75 was 150. Still not the same. We tried 3 hours. 180 plus 60 again is 240. 150 plus 75 is 225. Still not the same. I go to 4 hours. 240 plus 60 is 300. 225 plus 75 is 300. So how many hours of plumbing before they cost the same? That would be 4 hours. I would make this chart as I try to solve number 13. Give yourself some room and work it across that way. The last one, number 14, says Lauren brings brownies to class one day. She gives 3/4 of them to her friend Gareth, Tammy, and Camilla. If she gave them 24 brownies, how many did she bring to class? So we have 3/4 times some number equals 24. So I'm going to divide each of these by 3/4. 3/4 and 3/4 cancel out. I have x equals 24 divided by 3/4. So I use my keep, change, flip strategy. I have 24 over 1. Change the sign from divide to multiply. Flip my second fraction, which would be 4/3. 3 goes into 24 8 times. 3 goes into 3 once. 4 times 8 is 32. So x equals 32 students. Know that you have a quiz tomorrow. Watch and listen to this video. Write everything down on your sheet that's in Kami. Fill out the review paper on Kami or on a separate sheet of paper and use the review for the quiz as a study guide. Good luck.